If the Lions find players that they like, they're willing to trade up for. But multiple third round picks, basically, the media room looked at it like, well, basically the Lions traded Aaron Glenn for Isaac TeSlaa because you gave up your compensatory picks. But, the Lions could be in line with how the formula works to earn some compensatory picks based on their signings and who departed and all that. So the formula could work itself out. And we'll always talk about those picks later on in the coming weeks. But when you look at it, the Lions have clearly, and we can talk about it in the framework of the TeSlaa pick, but the Lions made multiple trades in this draft. They target the players that they see fit, and the Lions were willing to move up 32 spots to get them. And so it opened up the debate, was it a reach? Do you think that, maybe the Lions overvalue guys that they like and are willing to make trades? Because in the context of the Broderick Martin deal, it's kind of similar. Willing to trade multiple assets and be aggressive for their talent. Did the same thing with Ratledge. I think the Lions ended up with 3 or 4 trades in this draft to maneuver. And so the idea is there that if the Lions find and scout players that they want, they're willing to be aggressive. But in the context of picks, 3 picks for a draft prospect to move up 32 spots. And I know that the Jaguars were going to ask a lot to move down that much, but do you think that maybe you could have said, all right, if you're going to be aggressive and you have an area of need at the defensive end spot, do you think that potentially the Lions could have used that spot if you want to trade up for an edge rusher? Or you say, you know what, double down and just indicate that, hey, if they think TeSlaa is the guy, that's the position. I think that an offensive skill position is interesting in this offense, but maybe not the most needed at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I don't think that wide receiver is the most pressing need they have on the roster this year. But and this is something I wanted to float out to you earlier. Something that intrigues me is the Lions made these 2 trade ups, and then they made a smaller one for Miles Frazier on the 5th round. But something that I thought about is maybe just Brad Holmes just didn't feel like this was a necessarily great draft class. And he thought that maybe by sitting back at 102, they just weren't going to get a player that they were super excited about. And the theme with all of these guys that they pick are that they're stoked about all of them and they feel a ton of conviction and they were the number 1 player on their respective draft boards every time they come up somehow. But like, to me, they made this move, and yeah, did they overpay a little bit? Yes. Like, if you look at the charts, the overall value of the capital, yeah, I do think that was a little bit of an overpay. But I think from his perspective, what this looks like to me is that he just didn't feel great about the options that were going to be there at 102. And rather than wait around until it got to pick 80 or pick 90 to make a move up, he wanted to go get his guy right now. And so he jumped on a trade offer, and he overpaid a little bit, but at the end of the day, they got the guy they like. And I think that in the immediate judgment of it, we view it as an overpay. But if TeSlaa comes to Detroit and works out, we're going to be like, props to him. Why didn't they take him in the 2nd round? So, in the instant reaction, my instant reaction is that that is a little bit of an overpay, but it's also like I see the vision and I kind of get the sense that the Lions just didn't feel great about what they could have gotten at pick 102.